The top 10 psychological triggers that make women crave you. Understanding female attraction through Stoicism. Women have long been seen as mysterious, complex beings. From the outside, they often appear as strong, independent, and emotionally controlled. This outward display of confidence is often coupled with a certain level of detachment, as if they have everything under control and are unaffected by the advances of men. The truth, however, is much more intricate. Beneath this external strength lies a complex web of psychological triggers and emotional vulnerabilities that, when understood and activated correctly, can make any woman emotionally and mentally drawn to a man. Despite the appearance of independence and strength, every woman has deep psychological weaknesses, often hidden beneath layers of defense mechanisms that, when tapped into, can trigger intense attraction and desire. These aren't the obvious weaknesses commonly discussed in mainstream dating advice. Instead, they're the deep psychological factors that can make a woman completely lose control around the right man. Attraction, at its core, is not merely about physical appearance, status, or wealth. It is about psychology, emotional triggers, and subconscious needs. By understanding these hidden triggers, a man can tap into a woman's psyche in ways that make her crave him, not just on a superficial level, but on a deeply emotional and psychological level. These triggers are universal, rooted in biology, psychology, and human nature. And once activated, they can make a woman deeply emotionally attached, even in the absence of overt romantic gestures. In this video, we will explore these psychological triggers, focusing on the top 10 that every man must understand if he wants to connect with women on a profound, lasting level. Sign 1. The power of a man's touch. Most men, when they first meet a woman, focus on their words, their appearance, or their status in an attempt to attract her. While all of these factors matter to some extent, the power of a man's touch is often vastly underestimated. Physical touch is one of the most primal and potent tools in the attraction arsenal. A woman can resist a man's words or his compliments, but when he touches her the right way, in the right context, something inside her begins to shift. Psychological insight. Attraction is not purely mental. It's biological. A woman's emotional responses are deeply influenced by the physical presence of a man, and the way he touches her, subtly and deliberately, can trigger a cascade of emotional reactions. Research published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that physical touch increases oxytocin levels in women, creating a sense of trust, comfort, and, most importantly, desire. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone, often called the love hormone, which is released during moments of physical connection. A light touch on a woman's lower back, wrist, or shoulder can bypass her logical brain and trigger an emotional and physical response that she can't ignore. This touch creates an emotional connection, a sense of security, and even desire. Real-life example. Think about the moment when a man touches a woman on her lower back as he guides her through a door. While it might seem like a simple, innocent gesture, it triggers an emotional reaction in her. She starts thinking differently about him. The touch, though subtle, signals strength, dominance, and security. It breaks down her walls and allows her to feel a connection that words alone cannot create. Further analysis. This is not about constant physical contact or invasive behavior. It's about controlled, deliberate touch at the right moments. When a man understands the power of a well-timed touch, it can make a woman feel connected, desired, and, in many cases, emotionally dependent on his presence. The Stoic principle of virtue in moderation can be applied here. Use touch strategically, never overdo it, but know when to use it to evoke the desired emotional and physical response. Sign 2. The forbidden effect, desire through unavailability. Human psychology operates under certain core principles, one of the most powerful of which is the scarcity effect. Women, like men, are wired to want what they can't have. This principle is hardwired into our brains. If something is in limited supply or difficult to obtain, it immediately becomes more valuable in our eyes. When it comes to attraction, this effect is particularly potent. Psychological insight. The scarcity principle, as coined by psychologist Robert Cialdini, states that the less available something is, the more people desire it. Women are naturally attracted to men who are not always available, who are not always chasing after them, and who have their own lives and ambitions. This creates a sense of urgency and desire, a desire to attain what seems just out of reach. Real-life example. Take a man who is always available for a woman. He replies to her texts instantly, shows up whenever she calls, and places her as his top priority at all times. While this might seem flattering, it actually makes him appear less valuable in her eyes. The woman takes him for granted, and the attraction begins to fade. In contrast, a man who has a full, interesting life, who isn't always at her beck and call, immediately appears more valuable. He's not desperate for her attention, and that makes him more desirable. In a world where people are constantly inundated with information and attention, scarcity makes something stand out. If a man can make himself slightly unavailable without being dismissive or aloof, he creates a psychological effect that makes a woman crave his presence even more. Further analysis. This concept ties back to the Stoic practice of self-control. Men who live full lives, who are emotionally self-sufficient, and who are not dependent on external validation, are naturally more attractive. By being selective in his attention and not always making himself available, a man creates an aura of intrigue and desire. The moment a woman feels like she might lose him, her desire intensifies, and she becomes emotionally invested in winning his attention. Sign 3. Why drama keeps her hooked. Contrary to popular belief, stability and predictability are not always the most effective ways to keep a woman engaged. While long-term relationships do require stability, in the short term, a little bit of unpredictability and emotional fluctuation can be the key to keeping her hooked. Psychological insight. Dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical, spikes when emotions fluctuate between highs and lows. This is why women are often attracted to men who create emotional contrast. Those who can make them feel excitement, uncertainty, and unpredictability. Men who are too predictable, too steady, may be appreciated, but they won't keep her emotionally engaged for long. Real-life example. Think of the classic bad boy stereotype. He's unpredictable. He disappears for a few days, then returns as if nothing happened. His behavior keeps the woman on edge, wondering about his feelings, his intentions, and his next move. This emotional roller coaster creates a sense of longing and desire. In contrast, the steady, predictable man who is always available may fail to elicit the same level of emotional excitement. The key to this is not manipulation or playing mind games. It's about creating emotional tension that keeps the woman engaged and invested in the relationship. By maintaining a balance of presence and absence, a man can keep a woman constantly thinking about him, craving his next move. Further analysis. From a Stoic standpoint, this dynamic is interesting because it reflects the idea of balance. In relationships, as in life, balance is key. Too much stability and predictability can lead to boredom, while too much unpredictability can lead to anxiety. The Stoics practiced equanimity, the ability to remain steady amidst external fluctuations, and this principle can be applied to romantic dynamics. The man who understands when to be present and when to step back is the one who will keep her emotionally invested. Sign 4. How a man's tone controls her mind. There's something deeply seductive about a man's voice. Its pitch, rhythm, and tone can have a profound effect on a woman's attraction to him. A deep, controlled voice signals authority, confidence, and dominance, traits that women instinctively find attractive. Psychological insight. A study from the University of Aberdeen found that women are more attracted to men with lower-pitched voices, associating them with strong genetics, dominance, and confidence. But it's not just about the pitch of the voice, it's also about the way a man uses rhythm and pauses. Men who speak with control and precision naturally draw a woman in without even realizing it. Real-life example. Think about a time when a man's voice held your attention. He didn't rush through his words. He spoke slowly, deliberately, and with purpose. Perhaps he leaned in slightly as he spoke, and you couldn't help but focus on his words. This is the power of tone. It's not just about what is said, but how it's said. A woman can be drawn in by a voice that exudes confidence, dominance, and control. Further analysis. This ties into the Stoic ideal of virtue through self-control. In relationships, as in life, a man who can control his impulses, his emotions, and his behavior commands respect. When he speaks with precision and authority, he signals dominance, something that naturally attracts women. The man who speaks slowly and with purpose, never rushing, never wavering, draws attention without needing to assert his power overtly. Sign 5. The hidden effect of jealousy. While many men think jealousy is a negative emotion, it actually plays a significant role in female attraction. When a woman sees that other women are interested in the man she's with, her desire for him intensifies. This is the primal effect of competition, the idea that someone else might take what she values. Psychological insight. This is about social proof. Women are wired to want high-value men, the kind of men who are desired by others. A man who is constantly available, without options, signals that he lacks value. But a man who is admired by other women has an aura of desirability. This social proof makes him irresistible. Real-life example. A woman might become more attracted to a man once she notices other women vying for his attention. She doesn't just see him as someone who is desirable. She sees him as someone who has options, someone who is high value. This increases her desire for him. Further analysis. The Stoic principle of self-sufficiency is relevant here. The man who does not need validation from others, who is emotionally secure in himself, becomes highly attractive. He is not driven by external approval, but by his own internal sense of worth. This subtle display of value, without arrogance or boasting, triggers attraction in women who seek a partner of high status, not necessarily in terms of wealth, but in emotional strength and independence. Sign 6. The sweet spot of tension. A common mistake many men make in relationships is rushing things. They confess their feelings too soon, push for commitment too quickly, or eliminate all mystery. But what really keeps a woman engaged is tension, the emotional buildup, the anticipation. Psychological insight. The excitement of a relationship comes from the tension, the waiting, the unknown. When a man makes everything too easy, too predictable, he removes the mystery and, consequently, the excitement. Women thrive on the emotional buildup, the anticipation of something they can't fully grasp. Real-life example. The man who teases, flirts, and holds back just enough keeps the woman on her toes. She starts to feel like she's earning his attention, and that makes her desire him even more. In contrast, the man who gives away everything too quickly, who overcommits and overshares, loses her interest because he's removed the emotional tension that initially sparked her attraction. Further analysis. This can be seen through the Stoic lens of delayed gratification. In Stoicism, the ability to delay gratification is seen as a key trait of self-discipline and virtue. In relationships, this concept plays out as the ability to resist the urge to rush things, to let things unfold naturally. The man who understands the power of tension, who knows how to build emotional anticipation, is the one who keeps a woman craving more. Sign 7. The fantasy effect. Attraction isn't just about the physical. It's also about the story that a man creates in a woman's mind. Women are drawn to men who spark their imagination, who create an aura of mystery and intrigue. Psychological insight. Women are wired to chase what they don't fully understand. The more mystery a man keeps in the relationship, the more a woman's imagination fills in the gaps. It's this sense of intrigue that makes her desire him. Real-life example. Celebrities are a perfect example of this principle. Fans don't fall for celebrities because they know them personally. They fall for the image, the story, and the mystery that surrounds them. A man who keeps a bit of mystery about himself creates the same effect, making a woman constantly wonder about him, think about him, and crave more. Further analysis. In Stoic thought, self-control and moderation are key virtues. The man who is transparent about everything may feel he is building trust, but he may actually be diminishing the mystery that sparks desire. The Stoic principle of keeping certain things within oneself, not revealing everything all at once, can be applied here. The man who holds back just enough creates a lasting emotional and intellectual connection.